Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Human Echoes podcast, the show where we discuss oddball movies, have oddball discussions. I said the word discuss twice, Tony, and occasionally take questions from you, the oddball fans.
I'm Tony Southcott.
I'm Albert Berg. I'm good at intros, you guys.
You can also hear the smarmy grin that he has because he knows that he got away with watching this movie.
What do you mean got away with it? Like, I don't understand.
This isn't a movie that you just simply watch. Like, this is a movie that you, like, just brood over and hate and just want it to end, and it never ends.
That's not how I feel. I guess we're just going to jump right into the Pitch Perfect 2 stuff.
Yeah.
Here we go. We're in Viewer's Choice Month, by the way. I did want to bring up, Tony, there's another thing that I need to discuss. It's very... You know, we do talk about movie news here on the Human Echoes podcast from time to time, and there is an actual really important bit of movie news that's going on right now. We're recording this podcast on Thursday, and as of the time that we're recording this, the trailer for 50 Shades Darker, the sequel to the 50 Shades of Grey movie, has literally just come out, Tony.
Like, just moments ago.
641 views, dropped 1 minute ago. We're gonna save this. We're gonna save this until after
All right.
we talk about Pitch Perfect 2. I was not expecting that to happen with that exact timing. I was like, I'm gonna talk about how it's not out yet, but it might come out in the course of the podcast. I'd keep refreshing that page. It happened as I brought it up. They had their finger on the button. They were like, okay, I know those Human Echoes guys. They start recording at about 10 a.m. every Tuesday. We know this is right in their wheelhouse. They didn't watch the first movie because it was 50 Shades, but those shades weren't dark enough, Tony. I don't know. I assume that's why you didn't go see the movie. That's why I didn't go. But now the shades are darker. So let's see if the trailer gets us into this one. However, we did this week watch Pitch Perfect 2, which was a singing movie. Tony hates singing movies, hates the musicals with a passion.
Yeah, and
Tony,
this is still one of those movies that I'm kind of not sure if it's actually a musical. Like, it's sort of a musical, but it's not quite.
With the amount of singing that is in this, it's definitely a musical. I realize that they excuse it in context, but no, it's definitely. I think we were a little bit unsure about the first Pitch Perfect, but this one I think is leaning into that realm of unreality. And I'm sure that it's leaning into that realm of unreality where they're saying, listen, don't question how they're able to just pop off all this, talents and stuff, and they don't necessarily have to practice. Although they do mention, I like to point out, in Pitch Perfect 2, it's just like, sometimes we talk about practicing, but we never actually see anybody practice. And this one, they bring it up a little bit more. They talk about Becca having to do the routines and stuff and getting that stuff ready, which was not much in Pitch Perfect 1 at all. It just felt like, we have to learn to work together as a team. And I mean, like, by a hair, they talk about it a little bit more in this, Tony.
Oh, they have a training montage.
But, hey, thank you for bringing that up, by the way. Montages in this movie? Terrible. This movie has... Okay, I know a lot of people give flack to Elizabeth Banks. I think that the direction of this movie is okay. I mean, it's fine. It's a very on-the-nose, broad kind of movie. There is no reason for the montages in this movie to be shot the way they're shot. They don't convey any information any better than if you just had the stuff happen.
What, you don't like 14 different scenes like split onto one screen?
I hated that. I hated that so much. I watched that and I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing here? This is not artistic. This is not interesting. It's just confusing and I don't know where to look. I know that's not what you were going for. I know that's not what you had a problem with,
That would have been
Tony.
the opposite of what I would have thought you would have thought of that particular scene. I would have thought you'd be like, oh, it's so cool. They're actually like, they're getting their information across in a different way. It looks different than other movies, blah, 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 blah. I thought you would have actually liked that.
It looked different in a bad way.
I think it was just mental overload for you. Just too many things.
What is the point of having 80 pictures on the screen? None of them like really related to each other. It was all just sort of like, we have this screen over here showing this and this other screen showing somebody dancing and this is somebody singing, and like, just put them on the screen in sequence and edit it in a way that's interesting. This is not. I hated that so much. And there was a later montage. I forget exactly what it was, but I thought like, Just you stay away from the. It was like they had all this footage. Just like Elizabeth Banks just shot all this footage, and she just gave it to the editor, and they were like, I don't know, do something with that, whatever. Like there's no vision for the scene, so they just like threw all the shots together on the screen at the same time because they didn't have time for anything else. They didn't want to cut anything out. All of those shots are really essential for the movie, apparently. Tony hated that, hated it, hated it, hated it.
I'm glad you got
Loved
to
everything
hate
else,
something for this movie.
Like that, I think we're reversed on that. You probably didn't care about that movie and hated everything, or that part of the movie, hated everything else.
I was indifferent. I was like, yeah, it's happening.
I enjoyed this movie. For those of you who are wondering, other than the montage stuff, which I thought was subpar, I felt like this was a great sequel to Pitch Perfect 2 or Pitch Perfect 1. I'm sorry. It was like 3 self-referential jokes away from being like 22 Jump Street. Like it's that level of self-aware, but never quite goes over into the, hey, we're doing exactly the same thing again. But they totally are doing exactly the same thing again. You can read it as lazy, but the first film, I think, is exactly the same level of lazy. It's just you don't... I don't know. I really think that you throw just a couple of self-referential jokes in, and this becomes like a whole extra level of brilliant, but they don't quite do that here. I really enjoyed the humor in this one, though.
And in this instance, Al is very, 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 very wrong. This movie is a hot piece of fucking garbage. This movie's fucking terrible.
Well,
Like,
yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ, this movie is bad.
It's not a good... I'm not saying it's a
the fucking
good
cringiest movie I've seen in at least a decade.
Well, I didn't cringe, but okay.
Like, there was so much cringe. Anytime she talked to the German people, I literally threw my headphones. Like, seriously, this movie is absolutely garbage. Like, the only thing it had going for it is it's loaded with good-looking women. That's seriously the only good thing that it had for it. Otherwise, this movie, like, literally had me, like, I was drinking so hard last night. I'm so hungover right now. Like, I can't even tolerate this. Like, I don't understand how this shit gets made. I don't understand how people go see it. I don't understand how Elizabeth Banks is even allowed back in Hollywood. I liked her in Zack and Miri Make a Porno. I've liked her in a few things. She was even good in Hunger Games. But goddamn, if you direct a movie like this, you should be banned from being able to go back. Fuck this
movie. Did you like her acting in that? Because I don't care about her directing. I thought that this was exactly as bad as the first one, which was bad, but I enjoyed a lot.
Her acting in this, like that, like the commentators back and forth was too spot on. Didn't feel natural at all to me.
Everything about this movie is spot on.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing about this movie that's going for naturalistic at all. It's very affectatious.
I think that's honestly, one of the things that actually bothers me the most about it is that, like, the only characters that seem to have any room for improvisation are like Adam Devine or Levine or Divine, the guy that likes he's the one that was trying to date the fat girl.
Oh, okay.
Fat Amy. And he's the only one that I think gets to improvise some of his scenes because he does that in a lot of the movies and shows that he's in, like where they'll take like 10 different takes of him trying different things out. And even then, he's just so off the wall that it feels fake too.
I guess I embrace that fakeness. Like I definitely, you're not wrong at all. It 100% has that sort of beyond reality, elevated above kind of the normal concerns of real life. That's why I said they talked a little bit more about practice in this, but it's so sugary and like everything is easy and all the jokes are like, just here, we're going to tell you a joke now and you're going to laugh or not, but it's a joke. And I think like that's why I made
up for Fat Amy.
Honestly, I liked a lot of there was a lot of things, like the Troublemakers bus joke that I thought was one of my favorite things in the movie. Just because like the way it pans across, so there's the guy's painting the logo on the Troublemakers touring bus. So there's no reason for the Troublemakers or practically anybody except the Bellas to be in this movie. There's just like a giant long string of cameos from people from the first movie and also other funny people.
Yeah, the random Green Bay Packers.
That was great too, by the way. I love that reference. But they were panning across the bus, and at him, he's painting the Troublemakers are going to blow up Lincoln Center, and it's great because it pans from left to right. It just says like the Troublemakers are going to blow up Lincoln Center. And so you have the Troublemakers are going to blow, then the Troublemakers are going to blow up Lincoln Center. Both of those jokes work. And then like they reference the fact that those jokes don't like that it's wrong. And he has to put the at on the bus. I like that a lot. Also really love the random Lincoln Packers, Green Bay Packers drop in at the showdown, the musical showdown.
Yeah, they definitely aren't good actors, but you don't expect football players who aren't trying to be
They learned the song though.
Yeah.
They were not bad at singing. I didn't think that, and they didn't like have a lot of lines either.
Yeah.
It was just a great non sequitur. Like we have all these great underground, the troublemakers are there again because they're one of the groups in the show.
They needed to copy the pool scene from the first movie, so they just got a bunch of different improv groups, or not improv group, acapella groups.
Well, right, but they also, so they had to, like, the troublemakers are just in there for no reason. The German team, who is supposed to be on tour taking over from the Bellas, apparently they had time to just take a break to go to this rich guy's house. Who knows where that is at?
Yeah, they kind of get a little weird with the locations in this movie, because that little bus just magically teleports them wherever they need to go. They all complain about money, but they can drive cross-country for a contest that only gets you a Dave & Buster's coupon.
That's because this movie doesn't care about reality.
And
it doesn't.
I mean, a Dave & Buster's $42,000 gift card would be kind of nice.
I don't know what Dave & Buster's is.
Dave & Buster's is basically like imagine you go to a place that's a little bit higher quality than Chili's that has a giant arcade attached to it.
Okay.
Like 2 or 3 story arcade.
But obviously for you, the biggest problem was the singing, I assume. Yes?
For the most part. It was more the song choice, because I can really get down on acapella stuff. Like, I like Pentatonics a lot. They actually made a cameo at the end of this
very
movie.
brief cameo. I wish they'd spent more time on that.
It's like, if you're going to pay to have Pentatonics there, you might as well use them for a little bit longer than that. Like, I've enjoyed a lot of acapella music, especially stuff that I found on YouTube before. Like, there's people that get really good at looping their own stuff and making some interesting music, but it's always the song choice. And the song choice that what is it, Das Audio Machine, or what it, like the first time that they're on screen, they're at a German car show, and you end up seeing them do a Knights of Sidonia from Muse, and I actually really like that song. I didn't like their rendition of it all that much, because they forced the German accent more than it would actually go through in that song, I think. But that's just part of their shtick, I guess.
Yeah,
it's
again.
It
is a very broad movie.
It reminds me,
not subtle about anything.
It reminds me of the Germans in Beer Fest, where it's just comedians making fun of a German accent, not an actual German accent.
I don't have IMDb open for this movie. I don't know if you do. Do you think any of those actors were actually Germans?
We can pull that up real quick. I didn't think that we would need to reference IMDb today for some reason.
To.
I'm pulling
it's
it up
fine.
now.
I don't have a burning need in my loins to find that out, Tony. But I personally enjoyed the music, especially the final song, not the Who's Gonna Rule the World. I felt like that was like weird, but when they got to that flashlight song, I thought that was pretty cool. And then I ended up, like, as I did last time we watched First Perfect 1, I ended up on YouTube, like, watching a bunch of acapella singing and rewatching a lot of the music from this movie, and just getting all pumped up with it because I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
This movie
the songs they're referencing.
This movie took me 4.5 hours to watch because I kept having to leave it to go listen to better music.
Here's what weirds me out, Tony. I don't understand the people who saw the first one and really liked the first one, and then went to this and were let down. Because I don't think that the first one was a good film. It was a fun film. I enjoyed some of the jokes, and I enjoyed the singing and everything, but it was basically just the same as this. Were they expecting like some revolutionary new way of showing a cappella singing where they're like, no, okay, well, they did the sing-off thing last time and they went to the finals. Like, what are they going to do next? They're not going to do anything next. That's not how this works.
Oh, the stakes definitely felt pretty artificial to me. Like, oh, you're going to be, or the Bellas are just going to cease to exist because you accidentally showed Barack Obama your vag. I will admit that I did laugh whenever that happened. I knew something was going to go wrong. I didn't quite expect like that. And I just pulled it up. Flula Borg and Bridget Short Sorensen. One is from Denmark. One is German. So
close enough.
Yeah,
I think Danish people speak German, right? They're kind of from that same geopolitical
Pretty
area.
sure they have their own language, but they mostly speak like 4 other languages because that's just the part of Europe they're in.
Okay. So I'm sorry if I've insulted all the Danish listeners. Our downloads are in the tank next week because they've lost the Danes.
We actually do have a fair amount of downloads from the Netherlands, if I remember right.
But yeah, I think that there's a real chance, like, the only thing that I think you could do different with this is take it in, like, a 22 Jump Street kind of way where you make fun of the fact that everybody's bursting out into song and you make fun of the fact that they're doing exactly the same thing over again. Because what else are you gonna do? What, like, I guess I'm interested a little bit in Pitch Perfect 3 because at some point they're gonna have to graduate from college.
Oh, they actually graduate at the end of this movie.
Yeah? So I'm saying, like, so they can't, but they open the, they can't really still be part of the Bellas anymore, but that's, like, they're just going to have to be living together in an apartment or something, and it'll be weird. I don't know how that's going to go. And they are making a Pitch Perfect 3 because this one made, like, all the money. Next year for Viewers' Choice Month.
I'm really hoping it's just not in theaters. Like, we need to have it hit that sweet spot where it's not out on DVD and it's not in theaters, or it just got out of theaters. That's my hopes.
Well, let me look, Tony. Let me see.
Get like a stay of execution by a year.
I'm looking. Maybe they'll make you watch Patchtown. Oh, here we go.
What is Patchtown anyway?
It's a Christmas movie. Like a weird Christmas movie. December 22nd, 2017.
Yeah,
so
that'll probably be out on
there.
DVD.
No, 2017.
Oh, 2017.
You've got a year and a half before you have to go
good.
see that movie, Tony.
So we'll be like closer to our 6th anniversary. Speaking of which, as we record this, tomorrow is our, I think, 5th year doing this? 4th year? No, 4th year.
Okay.
It is our 4th anniversary tomorrow.
And we're recording a podcast about Pitch Perfect.
Yeah.
Tony sent me a message. He was like, should we do something special for the 4th year anniversary? And I was like, sure.
And then we never did.
We're doing something special right now. We're talking about Pitch Perfect.
Sorry, there was a weird noise coming from my living room. I had to investigate. I don't know what it is, but it's not a fire, so it's okay.
Oh, okay. Somebody's like breaking into your house?
No, it sounds more like it sounded like something was on fire, just like weird crackling and everything. But I don't know what it is. I can't smell smoke. We're okay.
Okay. There's a so I googled Pitch Perfect 3 release date. And Google has that great thing where it has, automatically comes up with sort of the pertinent information if it's available. So it says December 22nd right there. But underneath it says, people also ask, is there going to be a Pitch Perfect 4?
They're already Googling that. Well,
Yes.
like, they already repeated so much for this one. What would you add to it for number 4?
I don't know. I mean,
they could just go like the full 23 Jump Street and have them combine with the Men in Black.
okay. You just blew my mind. That's amazing. That's an awesome idea. They're singing aliens and they get abducted and they go into space and they have to sing to save the Earth.
It's about as plausible as what happened in this movie.
I want that so bad. Pitch Perfect 3 in space. It's not going to happen because it's aimed at women and women don't like that kind of sci-fi stuff in their like really grounded singing movie that they absolutely got right here. But dang, I want to see that now.
And then you'd have aliens that have like 16 further vocal ranges and stuff, and they have to somehow beat them by coming together and singing their,
it turns out that Fat Amy has actually been an alien her whole life, and she's got that range too. What? Plot twist!
That's really
you thought
why
she was from Australia.
You thought she was fat, but really there's just an alien inside of a suit.
That's correct. I want to see that now. I want to see that so bad.
We're spawning a whole new generation of fanfic.
I think you can do a lot of stuff. I don't know. They did set up some stuff. The only person who has any kind of character development in this is Becca. And that's ultra shallow. Like, she has her music producer thing she's trying to do. And it's so transparent what's going to happen, right? She goes in there. She never has any problems, by the way. She's amazing at everything. She doesn't even really develop. Yeah. The guy's just like,
her
well, that was good. What do you got?
Overconfidence.
She's like, well, here's my demo. And he's like, well, this is all remixes. And she's like, all right, give me 5 minutes. Okay, here's my brand new amazing song that I produced. And he says, you're good. Go win the movie now.
I guess the new girl has a little bit of development in that she gets comfortable with the fact that she like can make new music and be a Bella.
Right, the whole like be creative and do original songs thing, that you saw that coming from like a mile away.
Yeah.
Like she does it in the beginning, and then the other guy's like, you should do some new songs. And then like they keep trying to copy everybody, and it's like, guys, we know where this is going, okay? Just like have more Fat Amy jokes or something.
What else is there to say about this?
I don't know. Honestly, I'm surprised we have as much to say about this as we do. I think that, well, again, I enjoyed it. I think it's bad. Not bad on the level of like some of the Asylum movies I watch bad, but it's just one of those that on an intellectual level, I look at the story and there's no story development and there's no depth and there's no like, they're not going for anything except the absolute surface level pleasure.
Yeah.
Right? They want to make you happy with the songs, which obviously doesn't work for Tony because he doesn't like these songs. But if you enjoy the songs in Pitch Perfect 1, you're going to enjoy the songs in Pitch Perfect 2. Okay? Same stuff. I mean, it's not the same songs, but some of them are. They do the You're Gonna Miss Me When I'm Gone, which I got all emotional about when they sang that. I had to go watch Anna Kendrick sing that again with that music video. And, you know, they have the same really base level jokes that, again, once I was tuned into that, I think Pitch Perfect 1 primed me for that. I was like, okay, now I'm going into this and I understand that, like, nothing has any deeper meaning. It's all just like shallow jokes, and I really enjoyed the jokes a lot more in this. I liked Elizabeth Banks and whoever the guy she does the Cope podcast thing with.
Yeah, I'm not sure who that guy is. He's like, I don't like how unnatural they are, but it is kind of funny thinking that there's like this big podcast about acapella and all that. I bet if we looked hard enough, there probably is an acapella podcast out there somewhere.
My take on that was that it's not a big podcast. That they have like seriously fallen in the realm of acapella journalism, and that they're just like relegated to like because nobody cares.
Yeah, they do have a lot of self-referential stuff about that, about how just nobody cares about the American team, nobody cares about like acapella in general. Like during that first competition, they're all over that, and yet they're saying all that while the president is watching. So Rick's a little disingenuous.
Yeah. Man, getting into the dark underbelly of what's wrong with Pitch Perfect 2, Tony. We found it. We found the problem. We cracked this case wide open.
I feel like that this movie is basically how women would look at men who like the movie Old School, where it's just a dumb college movie where like specifically like oriented towards men, and like this is just the inverse of that. So I guess I can understand why it would make money. I would never go to my HSX account and put money on it. I'd want to short it, but I know that would fail.
That's because you bet with your gut, Tony. That's a problem. We talked about HSX. Joe did this too. He's like, I don't want to see Sully. I'm going to short Sully. Sully's going to do bad. I don't want to see Sully either, but you don't. So I guess we should talk about what we're talking about. There's a cool website called hsx.com, Hollywood Stock Exchange, and you buy stock in a movie, and what you're buying is it gets valued at a certain level, and that whatever that level is the number of $1 million that it's going to make in its first 4 weeks of release. So I'll open mine up right now, actually, so I can talk specifics here. Yes, I hate that it logs me out every 5 minutes.
Yeah, me too.
That's irritating.
You're like somebody's going to come to your computer, go to HSX, and put $2 million into like some bomb.
Okay. So I'm currently long on Magnificent 7. I bought it at 124.51. So I'm saying that I think that the Magnificent 7 movie is going to make $124.51 million in its first 4 weeks of release. I believe that's domestic, but I'm not 100% sure. It's actually down currently to 118. However, I feel very confident in my buy. So I'm sticking on that. Joe, this last week, shorted Sully. Okay?
For those that don't understand stock shorting, go watch The Big Short on Netflix right now. That movie's awesome.
Basically, it means you bet that it's going to go down. Yeah, and if it goes down, you get money, and if it does well, you lose money, and you can lose a lot of money because there's no limit to how high something can go, but there's a floor to how low it can go. And Joe thought that betting against a Clint Eastwood movie starring Tom Hanks about the Miracle of the Hudson was a good idea. Joe, what is your deal?
What was the last Steven Spielberg movie with Tom Hanks? That one didn't do great, did it?
Bridge of Spies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
it got
that was...
Oscar nominations, but I don't think it was a huge hit in the box office.
Clint Eastwood is a more, like, he's not as much of a critical darling as Steven Spielberg, but he definitely makes movies that appeal to, like, a certain above 40 to 50 age demographic, and those people have lots of money and lots of free time.
Could definitely see that. Like, the kids are out of the house, or at least they're old enough that you could leave them alone, that sort of thing. And they're just bored.
Yeah, and so, like, American Sniper was his last movie that came out. I think it was 2014, and that was or maybe it's 2015, I think, actually. It came out in January, and that was the top-grossing film of the year. Like, it just made all the money. It was huge.
His favorite of
Nobody's
mine...
still talking about it,
yeah,
but it was massive budget-wise.
His favorite of mine, I always go back and forth whether it's $1 Million Baby or Gran Torino. Those were just so perfect. Those are my favorite Clint Eastwood movies.
I haven't got around to watching those. I haven't seen a lot of Clint Eastwood stuff, actually.
I think that you would really, really like $1 Million Baby.
I probably would. I definitely wouldn't say that I would not like it. I just, for some reason, I have not got around to it. I'm not a big... I mean, I like the Rocky movies, but I'm not like a boxing guy. There's been a lot of boxing movies coming out recently that I have had really not much desire to look at.
Yeah, but this one I'm pretty sure also won Best Picture, and I think Hilary Swank got an Oscar for it.
Yeah. I know it's good, Tony. I've heard that it's good. Probably not as good as 50 Shades Darker is going to be, though, Tony. I know you thought I forgot about that.
Are we gonna
You need to load
do
this
live
up.
Commentary, or are we just gonna
We're
come
gonna,
back?
well, we'll
2
see
minutes?
how it goes. Is this gonna be awkward? Do you think? Is this gonna be weird because it's like a bondage movie?
I think it's gonna be more awkward for you than it is for me.
Okay, we don't have like face cam on or anything right now. We're just gonna be audio. I might like play the audio of the trailer.
Or we could just
We'll
make a
try
video
to-
afterwards of us with face cam.
Well, we're talking about it now, so I want to.
All right. The official trailer HD. Watching an
have it loaded up,
ad for
Tony?
Gucci.com.
Oh yeah, wait for the ad. You don't have ad blocker on your PC?
I have ad blocker on one of my browsers, and I don't have ad blocker on my other one because I support artists.
Fine. I guess that's okay.
All right, I've got it queued up.
Okay. Started at
No,
0.
this is a fan-made trailer. No. Get away from me.
No, this one should be like from like 20 minutes ago.
All right. Finding it. Thankfully, we have edits.
Oh, I want to see the fan-made one. Like, I've seen a lot of fan-made 50 Shades Darker trailers. It's just called porn.
All right, I've got it queued up at 1 second in.
All right, you ready?
Yep.
Counting in 3,
2,
2,
1.
1.
Fireworks. Oh, it's on Valentine's Day again.
It's about like the fireworks or the orgasm. He's giving her a journal.
He's wearing a mask. You can't tell who he is.
She has legs in this one.
Intrigued.
Isn't she the girl from Cabin in the Woods? The redhead?
No.
Thought she was.
They just go to a party in
Yep.
this one. They gave up the
Masquerade ball.
bondage stuff.
I had no idea
Oh,
what this was going to become.
Like, the balls come out
I
after
don't
the
see
ball.
how this can work.
Oh wait, you're in an art gallery? I guess this can work.
You're just gonna stand there gawking.
Yes.
Sexy times.
What do you want, Anastasia?
Heavy petting in the
This time-
shower.
No
Oh, there's
rules,
those fireworks
no
again.
punishments,
Well, that sounds lame.
and no more secrets.
Yeah, I'm kind of underwhelmed by this. Now there's somebody else in their bedroom.
Boom, boom, boom.
She saw a ghost.
You got me.
50 Shades Darker, the ghost story.
You got me. You
Ghost bondage would be rough. I mean, how do the bonds work?
Oh, now it's like a spy movie?
That's kind of what it's looking like. There's crashing
You
helicopters.
think you're the first woman who's tried to save him?
Oh, 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 no, no.
This song is making me uncomfortable, Tony.
But it's performed by Miguel.
His name makes me uncomfortable. Especially with that, oh. No, thank you. Well,
That was underwhelming.
really? I thought that was different than what I was expecting. At least it's not like, and they have kinky sex again. It's like they have kinky sex, and there's a mystery. Spies, intrigue, possibly ghosts.
And
They
she's-
go to a party that one time. Here's another shot of fireworks.
She's emotionally invested with a psychopath who doesn't care about consent.
Well, no, I think I have not seen the first movie. I have heard that like a large portion of the movie is them working out like what she consents to do. So he absolutely
maybe
does
I'm thinking about
care
the
about
books
consent.
because in the bondage community, there's a lot of people who hate those movies because there are several times where he ignores safe words and things like that.
It's not real. Like the idea of those books is that it's about fantasy. Like you don't actually do that.
Well,
I mean,
it turns
some
it
people do.
It turns it from a bondage fantasy into a rape fantasy.
Okay, but if it's a fantasy, that's not. I don't see what the problem is. It's all fantasies. Like it's not. None of it is actually playing out because it's words on a page, right?
I mean,
Am I wrong here?
I understand what you're saying. People are just touchy.
Okay. Well, those are our thoughts on the 50 Shades Darker trailer. In other big news, and this actually is big news. We're coming up. I just saw a news article that said later this month, Twitter is going to stop counting names in their counting of characters.
Yeah, but now how are we going to be able to like shove Joe into a conversation, have it only get down to like 5 or 6 letters because so many people are tagged?
I think that's actually my biggest concern about that is that like now you can have unlimited amounts of people in a conversation. And the nice thing about Twitter was that it necessarily limited, like, there would be times where I would be like hitting reply, and then I'd be looking at it and be like, okay, who isn't actually participating in this conversation anymore? I can delete their name. Now there's no need for me to do that because Twitter isn't forcing me to.
I don't think so. Like, there's going to be so many people that are a little bit bigger on Twitter that'll never be able to be like, or never be able to check their ats again just because they're going to be mentioned so much. Just going to be tagged in every conversation ever.
Will it also show all the tags? Because then you could just have people making Twitter accounts for famous words that like at party. I'm
pretty sure a lot of that's
the-
already there. Like, @N is like supposedly one of the highest valued Twitter accounts.
Why?
Just because some companies have wanted to just be @N. I don't know why.
Who has it?
I've read an article about this at one point. I can pull it up now. I want @T.
Naoki Hiroshima.
Creator of Kokoyan
No longer developed for Ecofon, father of 2.
in Palo Alto.
Harley and Chalpin lover. Hiragonist.
I don't know if I've
You know
ever
what?
heard Chopin. I've probably
Is
heard it
he-
at some point.
Chopin?
Yeah.
I think it's, yeah. I know how to pronounce it, but my brain was like, I don't think that's right, Albert. I was like, I'm pretty sure it's Chopin. It's like, say Chopin just in case. We know that the CH isn't ch. We're not going to say Chopin, but the I, we're pretty sure that's pronounced the right way.
Chopin.
Stupid brain.
Stupid non-phonetic spellings.
Last tweet was from August the 9th. Talking to people I don't know. August 1st, he said, finally replacing effing Apple Maps. By the way, he said effing, not, he didn't spell it out, with ugly Google Maps. I need to @forestall to get back to work.
Well, this is interesting. I think this whole conversation needs to be edited out.
Why?
It just wasn't interesting.
Thanks for pointing that out for everybody, Tony. This is the new segment of our podcast where we read random people's tweets. Here is another one from March the 10th. #RebuildFM. Guest request @RUI314. LLVM. Linker. at 8cc Stanford, career, etc. Come on, you can't tell me this isn't podcast gold.
This is,
What is he even talking about?
Is that trailer you had me watch earlier? I'm not talking about the 50 Shades one. I'm talking about
for before the podcast.
Yes.
Yes. Another A24 joint. These guys are killing it, Tony, except for apparently Sea of Trees, which I've heard isn't great.
well, you can't hit them all out of the park, but if you're getting as many good movies as A24 is, I think they're doing all right.
So we're talking about the trailer for Free Fire, which we'll link to. We're not watching that one live on the podcast, sorry to say. But it looks like to me, and I don't know for sure, but it essentially feels like that it's 12 Angry Men crossed with Shoot 'em Up.
Pretty much. Although less justice-oriented.
Well, I mean, yes. I'm saying the aspect of the 12 Angry Men where they're all in the same room for the whole movie. Well, it's a bigger room. It's not a tiny room. But it's like, we're in this warehouse. This arms deal goes bad. Everybody's shooting at each other and making quips.
And you've got like Army Hammer, you've got Brie Larson, Cillian Murphy, a bunch of other really good actors just kind of shoved into like this one movie. And it looks kind of like a Reservoir Dogs type thing where it's just gone so wrong.
Well, Reservoir Dogs, but if Reservoir Dogs was an action movie. Like, there's some action in Reservoir Yes. That movie that you just said, there's some action in it. There's a lot of talking. This looks like it's going to be sort of equal parts action and talking. Also, for some reason, watching this, I like the first 2 times I watched this trailer, because I watched it like 3 times, I was looking at Army Hammer and I was like, is that Adam Driver? It was not Adam Driver, but they both have like that weird voice that sounds like they're pitching it low artificially. You know what I'm saying? Like, Adam Driver has this voice that sounds like he's doing this all the time, and you're like, is that your real voice, Adam Driver, or do you sound like a little girl in real life and you just never talk like that on screen?
It's entirely possible.
Because he does that with Kylo Ren too, right? Like, there's very little voice modulation. It's just Adam Driver's voice just sounds like this. It just sounds really low for some reason. A little bit nasally too, which is like not usually a combination you get with low voices. It's got that nasal thing in there, but it's still real low.
I always worry I've got a really nasally voice, but I don't think I do.
I don't think so.
Not like Tom Petty up in here.
The nasal thing is actually a misnomer because when you sound nasally, you're actually not projecting your voice into your nose.
Like, this is me with my nose plugged because you can't, like, the sound can't resonate through my skull, you see. So
Makes you
it's
sound
very
like
much-
a Jewish accountant.
Right. So it's a weird. I learned that from my choir teacher, Tony. We talked earlier about box office stuff. I was interested in the the box office results for this week because speaking of movies that I didn't think were going to be very good, I'm looking on Rotten Tomatoes here. So the top box office, obviously Sully, Joe. Obviously Sully. So you know what the number 2 box office movie of this week was?
Not Kubo. I don't know. What is it?
It was not. Kubo made it in 6th.
Yeah, it's still pumping a little bit of money out. It's got a little bit of legs.
So it's not. I'm actually would be amazed if you even heard of this film. It's a movie called When the Bow Breaks.
Oh, I've heard of it. Like,
okay,
it's playing at the kind of indie theater we have here.
It's currently sitting at 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. It made $14.2 million at the box office, putting it in second place, just above, I say just above, quite a bit above Don't Breathe, and then Suicide Squad, and then The Wildlife. Do you know why When the Bow Breaks is at number 2?
What's up with it?
Well, it's like one of the only movies you can go see right now that's starring black people. If you're a black people, you gotta go. Like, I feel bad. I really do. Like, I feel bad for black people because if they want to go see a movie with their people in it, right, where it's like mostly their guys, you gotta go to the 0% on Rotten Tomatoes When the Bow Breaks, and you will do it because you want to see yourself represented in cinema. And like that doesn't happen very often when you get like, you know, an all black cast. You gotta wait for like Tyler Perry or something, and you get this like really melodramatic. Now it does have. I will point out, When the Bow Breaks has 55% on the audience score, so 0%, like 0 critics liked it, none. Like it's not a 1%. It's not like low. It's 0 people liked it who saw it. A critics wise, but half the audience thought it was okay.
It's pretty crazy that they couldn't find a critic to talk positively about it.
I don't know if that's how critics work. I don't know that, like, despite how people see that, I don't think the movie studios are going out like.
Well, I'm saying it's an
looking
aggregate
for a
site.
critic.
Like, I'm sure if they were looking far enough, they could probably find somebody to give it like push it up to 5%.
Well, they do have standards for who they put in their. Like, you have to.
Yeah,
be at
we
a
don't
certain level
qualify.
of-
We don't have.
qualify.
We don't have like 200,000
I would have written
circulation
a
or
positive
anything
review
like
for
that.
When the Bow Breaks.
Yeah, if that's what got us onto IMDb, or Rotten Tomatoes, I would do that. I would find the positive. But that's also part of the reason why why the Fast and Furious movies just explode. Like, it's just like it's a full-on representation of a lot of people of color.
Yeah, that's true. I guess, I mean, I never really think of The Rock or Vin Diesel as very much African American. I know they have
also
some
have
of that in.
Ludacris and a bunch of other people in it too.
Okay, yeah, you're right. And Paul Walker's not there anymore, so
Yeah.
we got the one white guy out. It is kind of sad though that like you gotta work so hard to get like any movie that isn't just full of white dudes. Just anything.
It kind of reminds me of what was going on with Magnificent Seven, where the director was taking some crap and they were saying that like putting Denzel as the lead just didn't make sense, and he's just straight up responded, "This wasn't about race. I just wanted to see Denzel Washington on a horse."
Well, also, okay, people are complaining that Denzel is like for real. People are upset about that. Is it a real thing?
There's people that are offended about every little thing. You can't be that surprised.
I will say I have a problem with Magnificent Seven. And my problem goes the other way, that they took like the Mexican poor people that were being oppressed in the first one by other Mexicans and made them like, oh, well, now it's a white village. Like, we want you to care about these people, so we're not going to make them Mexicans.
Yeah.
We're going to have white people, so, like, that's important. Those are the important people we have to go defend.
Yeah, gotta go build that wall.
Yes. I never watched that and thought, maybe that's the social justice warrior in me coming out, but I never thought, like, Denzel wouldn't be a cowboy. Like, absolutely. Like, you'd have to be tough if you're a black guy in the Old West to survive.
Yeah,
or
it's
else
like in Hateful Eight, like how tough Samuel L. Jackson's character had to be.
Right, he had to just take on, like, he couldn't trust anybody. That movie was just depressing.
Yeah.
Honestly, I hope that Magnificent Seven doesn't go that way. I want them to have some.
No, it looks like it's going to be
social commentary.
It's going to be a lot more fun than Hateful Eight, if nothing else.
I have heard. Speaking of HSX for earlier, I've bought a lot on that just based on some. Like, I heard some people talking about some advanced buzz from TIFF. Like, people who saw it just could not stop talking about how awesome it was, and I really, really enjoy. Oh, what's the director? Because he also did Equalizer, right? Same guy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. I'll pull it up while you talk.
Oh, dagnabbit. Anyway, I love The Equalizer, and he was directing Denzel on that. Didn't get as good of a critical reception as some of the other movies that year. I know that that was the same year that John Wick came out, and people liked that a little better, but I really dug The Equalizer, if you guys remember talking about that. And putting those two guys back together, adapting The Magnificent Seven, which is a great story if you can... I mean, you don't have to get too much right.
Antoine Fuqua.
Yeah, he's a good action director. It's a good story. Like, if you just kind of follow the basics and sort of have... Like, Denzel and Chris Pratt, amazing leads. All the other guys in sort of the background cast are going to be, I think, really great support to them. I haven't seen the movie yet, obviously, but I've heard great things. If they get the, sort of the basics of the story right and have the action be amazing, that should blow up huge.
It's also interesting because you got, I believe, didn't Nick Pizzolatto help write this one? No, that's a different one. Yeah, he did help write The Magnificent Seven.
Okay.
But he's also with 3 other writers, so they didn't trust him just with that.
Yeah, yeah. I actually don't... I've talked about this before. I don't have a lot of respect for him as a writer, but maybe it'll be...
Well, I think if he actually works with other people, he could be good, because he's got like some good things to say, or at least I like some of the stuff he has to say. I know you're a little bit less on the existential horror thing.
I would like a little bit of not existential horror, but maybe like just sort of inward looking stuff in the Magnificent Seven, because there's some really great scenes in that of pathos and like these guys dealing with the fact that they're kind of not wanted by anybody. Like they take this job because that's basically the only job they can get. They're not getting paid real well for this.
Yeah.
Some of them are kind of in it for the justice, but a lot of them are just like, well, gotta keep shooting people or you get shot. So get paid some money for this. And they're real kind of bottom of the barrel scraping. I love that about the original movie. I've still not finished watching Seven Samurai. I feel bad about that.
That's a long one. That's like 3.5 hours.
I started it on Hulu and I got 45 minutes in or something, and just it was good what I was watching, but I could not make myself keep sitting there for the whole thing. I'm sorry, guys. I know I failed as a critic telling you that, but that's absolutely the truth.
I'm sure you'll get through it someday. All those Kurosawa ones are pretty quality, especially for the time period.
Before we get too far into the podcast, and we're already pretty far in, I do want to get to those viewer questions we had.
All right, we can definitely get to that. First question comes from Rich Alex, at Rich Alex on Twitter. If underground acapella competitions exist, what are other oddball activities that need their own underground competitions?
Cooking.
I'm sure there probably is like some weird underground cooking type stuff, like some Iron Chef that takes place in like seedy restaurants and everything.
Well, if it takes place in seedy restaurants, it's probably not very good food, though.
Yeah, but it's probably like the best chefs just trying to prove things. Like,
do you think Gordon Ramsay just shows up like and it rolls up in a back alley and they're like, "You get one banana."
I think
And
he's
a
got to
cup
keep
of
his
water.
street cred up.
And he fights and then like all the other chefs can't do anything with a banana, and he's like, "Here's an amazing fried in water banana. I know you would think it would be boiled, but I have this special water frying method that I've developed. It's called plantain chips. But magically they've turned into a steak. I'm Gordon Ramsay."
Pretty much.
And then he gets to kill the competitors that don't win.
And he gets to like curse at their families as they bury them. You call that a pallbearer?
The image of Gordon Ramsay swearing at people at a funeral that he's beaten and then killed in a cooking competition is one of the best things ever. I do want to point out, by the way, they explore this question in the IT crowd, and it's underground. It's not Jeopardy, but like it's essential. It's like a word game they have in the UK, and they like it's a really nerdy type of word game. So one of the smarter guys on the team goes and plays and like wins, and he gets invited into this like super underground club where all of the people play this word game. I cannot remember the name of the game. It's for the life of me. If I was a UK person, I totally would know it. But that was a great episode where they just sort of played off of the idea of these being like the bad boys of Scrabble. It wasn't Scrabble, but Scrabble's what I can come up with for a modern American equivalent. Like if they played Scrabble on the television, that's what it would be.
I'm trying to think of other things. Like there's got to be some really obscure stuff that you can bet on. Like guys will bet on anything. Like I've heard people talk about how like they'll walk down the street and they'll bet like my dog will take a dump first. Like, so you think that there's always going to be that sort of stuff going on. Like there's got to be other competitions that we're just not thinking of. I know that there's like underground hacking associations that like have all sorts of things they're trying to do.
Yeah, but that's cool, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I think probably in real life hackers aren't cool, but if you hear like an underground hacking competition where they all hack off, you don't think of like, I mean, I think of this, but like in your mind, you're not thinking, I bet it's a bunch of fat white guys in like t-shirts and they don't smell very good. And they all just sit around with their laptops. But that's what it is.
I mean, there's probably some skinny ones too that are just hyped up on Red Bull and doing push-ups all day.
That could be. I'm sorry. There might be some women too. I'm watching *Halt and Catch Fire*. I understand women can code. I know that's fictional, but I absolutely am not trying to say women don't be hackers. I'm just saying, I think that stereotypically speaking, those
your idea of a hacker is definitely more the white guy, like that looks like he came off of the set or off of that one episode of World of Warcraft in South Park.
Well, especially because those kinds of things tend to be very tribal, right? And when you get a group of guys together, they want to keep it being a group of guys.
And
so
they
even
wouldn't
if
know how to handle themselves around a lot of girls. You're talking about like just a bunch of socially awkward people. I've known many. Although the person that I know that can actually do hacking is a girl, so she's currently a security consultant at some firm in Florida.
Well, don't name drop anybody,
No, I
Tony.
won't.
What's the next question?
Next question comes from Jen Gautreau. What are some of Al's favorite childhood movies so that we can mock them? This is in response to Army of Darkness, by the way.
Oh, okay. You guys feel free to mock. Well, you said movies and shows when you read this to me earlier. Is that in the question?
I can't find the question again because we got lots of asks this morning.
Fine. I'm including shows, by the way. So to start off with, I didn't have television until I was 10. So childhood movies for me started way late. But before I was 10, I listened to a lot of old time radio plays. So if you feel like making fun of suspense, the episode "The House in Cypress Canyon" is unparalleled and absolutely creepy in my mind, and you can feel free to make fun of that if you want to.
I think it'd be easier to make fun of Al just like being scared in his bathtub more than that episode.
Oh, I was terrified as a 10-year-old. Absolutely. I still listen to that and like get the chills. It's wonderful. And then later on, I really like The Rocketeer. And you can make fun of. Here's one you can make fun of: the Rescue. I thought that was awesome as a kid. It's sort of like a 12-year-old's version of an action movie where the kids of the Navy SEALs go into North Korea to rescue their dads from the North Koreans. Did you ever see that?
Never
Tony?
heard of that.
It was I don't know. It was I enjoyed it when I watched it. We had it on VHS.
It sounds like something I would like as a kid.
Yeah, it's definitely. I don't think I could go back to it now and say this is amazing, but sort of like as someone who hadn't seen a lot of television at the time and hadn't seen Die Hard and Terminator or whatever, just sort of they hit a lot of those action beats and there was some cool like sneaking around. They had the one kid of the general. His dad was a general, but he knew how to get into all the stuff and he was busting out the plans and they like rappelling down the side of the building and they sprayed the hinges of the briefcase with not Freon. Anyway, some kind of freezing agent. I think it might have just been CO2. Like they just unloaded a can of CO2, got the hinges of the briefcase super cold, and they were able to crack the back of the briefcase open because they didn't have the combination. I was like, to me as a 12 or 13 or 14-year-old, I was like, that's awesome. I want to do that. So, there's a little fodder for you, I guess.
I've been wondering about. Wow, I just completely lost where that thought was going. Completely lost it. That was bad.
I might leave that in there just because that's funny.
No, I haven't had
lot.
I haven't had one of those moments since the early podcast where I was just mid sentence and something just flew away.
What was your sort of thing as a kid that wasn't like it was? Because the thing about The Rescue was it's a movie that's made for younger kids. Like there's not swearing or anything in it. There's not gratuitous violence, but they are kind of playing into that action movie kind of feel. Was there anything like that for you? Because I know you obviously were not nearly as sheltered as me, but was there something that sort of aimed at kids, but sort of made you feel like more of an adult when you watched it?
I'm not really sure because I just kind of switched to immediate action movies. Whenever I was 7, I was watching stuff like Red Dawn and Alien and all that. And I can't really remember clearly the movies that happened before then other than Ninja Turtles and so on.
Red Dawn, I think would almost be in that category because we're talking about
it is a little bit of a young
bunch of
adult
high schoolers
type thing.
fighting off the invasion of the Russians.
So I think that's probably my answer of a bunch of rebel kids fighting off the Russians. It's probably as close as we're going to get to that answer that I can actually clearly remember.
It is rated PG-13, so it's a little bit harder than The Rescue was.
That was also different, a different PG-13 rating back then, because if you went to the full R rating, that was a pretty significant jump. PG-13 was still a little bit new because
people are still getting their boobs out and stuff.
Not in that particular movie, but
Okay.
You are watching teenagers get gut shot and slowly dying.
Okay.
So it gets pretty violent in there. You're seeing lots and lots of kills. The new Red Dawn movie was more fun than I expected it to be. It's not a great like movie. It's not a philosophical movie that you're going to be writing home about, but I actually did have more fun with it than I expected I would. And
Okay.
I thought about the thing that actually got away from me. It was about movies and stealth and video games and stealth, and about how like you can have an entire game or movie designed around stealth, and they always end up having the big crescendo moment, not about stealth, but like the big shoot 'em up type stuff. And I'm wondering if there's a movie that actually keeps disciplined with that and makes it end with stealth.
I can't think of a movie that focuses on stealth at all. I mean, games do it for sure, but like that's a mechanic that you can sort of you empathize. Like you have that sort of, am I going to get caught? Am I going to get caught? Maybe, I mean, Don't Breathe is kind of a stealth movie if you want to go there.
Yeah, like it's a little bit easier to be stealthy with a blind person, though.
Well, the whole point. Yeah, okay, fine.
That movie does seem savage. I really wanted to see it. It's still in theaters, so I might be able to. I just couldn't at the time.
Oh, you haven't seen it yet?
No, I didn't get the chance to. I was supposed to go, and then it just didn't pan out.
In my mind, and I would not have done this on purpose at all, but I thought you'd seen it, and I might have like dropped some spoil. Not, I guess I wouldn't have probably spoiled it on the podcast.
You haven't
but I
spoiled
would talk to you
anything.
as if you had seen it, and I'm glad that I didn't talk like that.
You haven't spoiled anything for that for me yet. Like, you did more spoiling for Pitch Perfect than you did for that. You're like, and then
Yeah,
the Green Bay
Green Bay
Packers
Packers.
show up. Like,
It was great. That's such a great non sequitur.
if I remember right, I think that's actually in the trailers, though, because I remember them ripping the arms off of Clay Matthews' shirt. Just like thinking how weird that particular sequence of events was.
I do want to bring up the rundown that I wrote this week was on a movie called I Am Not a Serial Killer, based on the Dan Wells book of the same name.
I was wondering
And-
when that was going to come out, because I have that book on my shelf and I haven't had a chance to read it yet. I'm glad the movie's actually here.
I haven't read the book. I've read that the movie stays pretty close to the book, and I can tell there's actually some stuff in the movie that I feel like you probably have this in here just because it was in the book, and you could cut it and it would be a little more streamlined. However, that movie was way better than I was expecting it to be. It's real dark. It's real, like it has a great tone to it. It really keeps to this sort of gritty, edgy. Edgy sounds like Hot Topic. It's not like that. It's and the problem is you're kind of, if you describe the movie, it's about this high schooler who's a psychopath who's hunting another psychopath, and it's like, what is this, YA Dexter? You know, I don't need that. But it's not. It really, it feels very very real and kind of very gritty, and like they actually shot it on film. A lot of people talk about how warm film is, but one of the things I talk about in the review is like you see the film grain on the screen sometimes when it's kind of underlit. It just makes you feel like the movie's kind of rubbing you raw a little bit, and that is absolutely intentional, I think. It's great stuff.
I definitely need to check that out, because I talked to Dan Wells at Denver Comic Con. He was a really nice guy. He signed the book and everything. You have an interview with him, don't you? Like from Pensacon?
I do, actually. Yeah, I'll have to link that in the blog post now that you brought it up, Tony.
Yeah, him and Kevin J. Anderson go on like these long tours where they're hitting up like every con and selling lots of books. It's kind of interesting to see that, like, how far they get out there.
So I'm not sure if I can recommend the book, but I absolutely recommend the movie. It is on that like early VOD thing, so you got to spend like $7 to rent it, but it's a good rental. Really great thing that I think is worth checking out early if you can.
And those VODs, like whenever you're talking about the $7 one, it's still cheaper than going to a movie. And they actually
and you
get
to
a
do it
really
in your home.
Yeah, you get to do it at home, and they get a really good percentage of that. You're talking higher than they actually get from movie theaters per buy. So whenever you hear them report numbers that they've done on VOD, that's a little bit more truthful than like, oh, this is just a giant gross thing that the movie theaters got. A lot of that's not going actually back to the movie. It's probably the best way to support these independent movies whenever they do get a release.
Right, and the tricky thing with the independent movie is you don't know if it's good, right? Like, it's like, well, why aren't they putting this in theaters? This is not really a big theater movie. I can understand why it. I mean, you can't necessarily, I think, put this as a blockbuster or anything. It's not going to make a ton of money, but as an indie film, as the kind of thing that's on VOD, I think it really, really succeeds. If you don't catch it now, it probably will eventually be on Redbox, like on Netflix. Might be on Redbox eventually too, and it's worth a watch. It's definitely a good streaming movie.
Yeah.
So
you got to remember that like Snowpiercer started with VOD. Like that was one of those where like the Weinstein Company was like, nah, it doesn't deserve a full on theatrical release. So like some really good ones don't quite get to theaters.
Yeah, and there's so many too. It's like books, right? You just don't have the time to watch all the movies or read all the books, but that doesn't mean that the stuff you don't have time for isn't of good quality. You just got to pick and choose. So, we're at the end of the podcast, Tony. We've been going for over an hour now, and yeah, we only have 2 more movies in Viewers' Choice Month remaining.
And next week we're going to be doing The Perfect Host.
Yes, which is on Netflix, by the way. This one, I might have pirated Pitch Perfect 2, Tony. I'm not saying that I did 100%, but I might not have decided to buy it outright on Amazon for $10, which was the only option for watching this movie.
Yeah,
What are you thinking?
I kind of had the same dilemma where I ended up with a French version the first time I tried, and allegedly, and then the second time I allegedly had one that was hard-coded with Korean subs.
I don't understand why. Like, I would have rented it. I would have paid the $3 to rent it. I don't want to own this movie on the podcast account. I don't like. As I even enjoyed it, but I have no desire to just be like, Joe, we bought Pitch Perfect 2. We spent $10 on Pitch Perfect 2. Is that
allegedly?
Allegedly. Yeah, we did. Absolutely, we did. I'm saying when I have that conversation with Joe, it's going to be embarrassing.
Yeah.
And he was going to say, why didn't you pirate it? And I'm going to be like, holy crap, you know what? I'm going to build a time machine and go back to tell my former self that and change the time stream.
Yep. Because if you could go
Terminator
back in time,
style.
that's the thing you would go back
Dun,
for.
dun, dun, dun,
I mean,
dun, dun, dun,
I
dun.
would stop myself from even allowing Pitch Perfect 2 to be like nominated. I would go back and I would just delete that comment. Thanks, Chris Becker.
He goes back and murders Lindsay's mom. Or, I'm sorry, Chris's mom. Lindsay didn't nominate that. I'm actually looking forward to the Perfect Toast, though, which is next week. And then Wetlands. Oh, boy. That's going to be our final. That's the number one.
Wetlands
so
is basically
crescendoing.
like Al's version of Pitch Perfect, I think. It's just going to be so disgusting.
I don't think I can be as disgusted with the movie as you can, Tony. With musicals, by the way, should we like start a Kickstarter to make Tony go see La La Land when it comes out?
What is that?
You haven't heard about La La Land?
No.
Oh boy. From the director of Whiplash comes a musical movie starring Ryan Gosling and Emma Thompson.
Oh, I mean, Whiplash looked pretty good, but no.
La La Land looks amazing with its songs. It's a musical. It's 100% a musical. If you are not doing so already, please go to humanechoes.com and become a member. Members are the lifeblood of the Human Echoes podcast. You guys keep us pumping. For as little as $2 a month, you get access to the awesome bonus podcast with me and Tony and Joe. And we just have a lot of fun there. We learn some stuff. We laugh a lot. It is by far my favorite product that we make. And you got to pay us for it. That's how it works, guys. Although there is free sample, which you can go check out for sure.
I feel like it's about time to release another free sample of that. We'll try to figure that out in the next couple weeks. Let you guys hear another sample of that particular podcast and see if it's worth the $2 a month to you. It's $2, $5, $10, or $20. If you get the $20 tier per month, you're getting free T-shirts. $10 tiers get pins every 6 months, as well as a bunch of stickers.
Which just
everybody's
went out,
getting
by the way.
postcards. Yeah, I just mailed those out yesterday. So by the time you guys are listening to this, you should have your pins in the mail.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Check out next week Perfect Host. It's on Netflix, so everybody can kind of watch along with us if you want to know what we're talking about here. It looks like a movie that might have some twisty stuff. I haven't actually seen any trailers or read anything about it. I don't know that there's a twist. I'm just saying it feels like the kind of movie that you might not want to get spoiled for you by the podcast. So if you're interested at all in ever checking it out, I would say check it out.
Yeah, and it's got David Hyde Pierce from Frasier in kind of a much, much darker role, so definitely take a look. I've only heard good things about this movie, so I'm excited to get to see it.
Have a great week, guys.
Bye.